Hey, beloved. Um, Welcome back to Be with Beloved. I ended last week recording with a testimony, I will say, um, a testimony to um, my journey to divinity school. And in a previous video, I shared like the catalyst of how that all happened. Um, of course, I've mentioned before that I am a believer, and I will say that a lot of times when things that happen to us all of a sudden, or things that we were not um, that we did not account for in our plans, right? Some of us have planners, some of us like map out what the next decade will be like, right? um and then when we get sidetracked or just come to a complete stop, um we some of us, I'm not speaking for everyone, but some of us, including myself, you get sidetracked and you're just like taken aback, like, whoa, what is happening here? What happened? How is it happening? Why did it happen? And all of the above. But for those of us who are believers, we know that um, current certain events may take us by surprise, but it doesn't necessarily take God by surprise. And so I shared that, you know, what broke open for me and what led me to divinity school, and the series of events that happened when I realized, like, I think I know the direction or which way to go. I felt like there was no way out, or I felt like, okay, what is happening here? I don't know if there's a way out for me, but clearly there's always a way out. But before I even continue on my journey getting to divinity school and being at divinity school, I kind of want to backtrack, because in a previous video I shared that you know when that event took place in my life, and how it impacted me and affected me in a lot of ways. My mother was at the center of it all. And I also mentioned that, I went a few years no contact. And it's not to say that I just went no contact because, I had my reasons to go no contact, but sometimes, especially in a lot of certain spaces and certain doctrines and teachings, will say that, if you are to go no contact with a parent specifically, that's like the ultimate no, right? That's no good. I think someone religious person even said to me, like, God's not gonna bless you if you go no contact, or you not talking to your parent, or going this long without talking to your parent. Like, God will surely punish you and things of that nature. I mean, even my own mom has tried to use the Bible against me and say that, like, the only person who is gonna miss out on her blessings is me, right? If I go no contact with her. But the reason why I went no contact is because I realized that I couldn't express myself. I couldn't say, like, fully be myself and say, hey, I mean, I've said you hurt me. Her reaction, of course, was more so kind of like, um, and I'm not putting words in her mouth or saying that she said these exact words, but it's basically like her saying, it's almost as if, and people who have had individuals, people in their lives who have a hard time taking accountability and responsibility for their actions will tend to kind of shift the blame on you and say, well, you know, like if you had not, you know, distance yourself, or if you had invited me into your life more, if I knew more about you, then maybe none of this would have happened. Like if you never moved away, none of this would have happened. Like you had this invisible boundary, right? And because I no longer, or I didn't have the access that or the influence that I used to have, like I had to take some measures, right? And so unfortunately, you know, my mom is a believer, right? And I'm not saying unfortunately like that's a bad thing. I'm just saying like a lot of times for us, it's always the people closest to us who have access to us, who will hurt us, right? For some people, they may not say, I don't really have biological family members, but I may have been a part of I may have been a part of a community of people, my chosen family members, and or chosen family members of believers, right? And in certain spaces, and they had access to me, or I confided in them, or I trusted them, and they were the ones to hurt me. And so you can understand how, whether they're in those spaces or not, like if they have access to you, they have proximity, like 9 times out of 10, most likely it's gonna happen, right? You're gonna get disappointed, you will get crossed, or you may have this sense of betrayal, or what etc., right? And for those believers, like you know, if you read the Bible, there's so many stories of betrayal, right? Or someone crossing the other person and killing the other person. So I mean, it's always the one closest to you. You know, we say that. There's that phrase, like, you know, it be the ones closest to you. It be your own people who are the ones that are doing the harm, who are harming you, or just sometimes sometimes indirectly, and sometimes it's intentional. But I had to go no contact because I knew that she wouldn't take accountability for her actions. She wouldn't take accountability for the role that she played in that. And I knew that I was moving forward, and I didn't tell really a lot of my family members. Maybe one person from my family knew, 1 or 2 people. About 3 people from my family knew that I was going to divinity school. But my mom did not know I was going to divinity school. And I wanted to keep it that way for my own reasons, right? Because I felt like that was something that I had to protect. Because I felt like everything that I gave her access to, like, it would just blow up in my face. So I said, I don't want this to blow up in my face. That's what I felt at the time. And I'm just going to keep this under wraps. So I will also notate that even the ones closest to you may be the ones who harm you, misuse you, abuse you, whatever form, right? There are also those who are closest to you who have access to you, who also want to see your downfall, right? Like they don't want to see you win in life. And so when a lot of things shifted for me, like as far as family, as far as friendships, I began to notice patterns, like pay attention to patterns and how people moved and what people were saying, and I was paying close attention to unspoken words as well. So body language, uh, just their demeanor, their cadence, their, I mean, just words that weren't spoken, but were speaking loudly, if that makes sense. So, yeah, so I went no contact for all those years because for about 3 years, because I just knew that I had some work that I needed to do for myself. I began therapy, and I drew closer to God, but I started therapy because I knew that there were some things that I personally had to deal with myself, like people pleasing, and just not being able to express myself, or not only not being able to express myself, but kind of making sure that I don't hurt other people's feelings, right? Even though people didn't have regard for my own feelings, right? So I felt responsible for how other people felt, right? And of course, I was raised that way. I was raised to put others above my own. Their feelings mattered more than my own feelings mattered. So their needs mattered more than my own needs mattered. So a lot of things, it stems from childhood, and it shows up in everything that we do. So I'm not going to dive in so much into this subject all today, but I will say to just come back, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. So I hope you stay tuned, and I hope that wherever you are and in the season, whether you're in the middle, whether you're grappling with pain and hurt or disappointment, just know that you are loved. You are God's beloved. You're God's beloved. And if you can do anything, just stay beloved. Until next time.